Testing, 1, 2, 3. My name is Oluwashina Augustina Aderie, and I am a part of the Family, Child, and Family Theories class with Suzanne Cook, and I will be talking about my family history. So, we were assigned to make a genogram, and I have the genogram right over here. Um, oh, wow, that's bright. So, let's start off with my dad's. Whose side are we on? My mom's side. So on my mom's side, if you can see it, I hope I can attach a picture or I can get the assignment to kind of share it, but I will attach a picture to the assignment because my phone's uber bright. But basically, on my mom's side, we have my great grandmother and my great grandfather came together and made my great grandmother, and I don't know how many siblings they had. My mom didn't disclose that to me. She wanted to keep that a secret, but I think they had about 3 to 4 or 5 siblings. And my great great grandfather, who was from Ghana, came together and had my grandmother and my grandmother's sister. My grandmother and my grandfather has passed away. So my grandmother is still alive, and so is her sister. And they made 5 kids. So it was 2 of my uncles. My mom's the third oldest, but she's the only girl, and 3 more other sons. So they had about, I think, 6 kids, and they had 6 kids in total. Um, one uncle currently has one uncle has 3 kids. One uncle has 3 kids. My mom has 3 kids. Um, my mom's immediate junior brother has 2 kids. My uncle is married, but he doesn't have any kids. And my last uncle, the youngest, has 3 kids. And then, yeah, there's no more kids after that. None of us are old enough yet. And then on my dad's side, it's just my grandmother and my grandfather, who both died in the last 5 years. My grandmother died in 2014, and my grandfather died in 2019. And they had 5 kids. So my dad is the oldest, and he had 3 kids. Then after him, it was my uncle, who had 5 kids. Then my aunt had 2. My other aunt had 3. The last boy had 5, and then the last girl, my aunt, had 2. So in my family, we noticed a general pattern that I kind of noticed throughout the assignments was that my family has a lot of autonomous relationships and everyone just seems to get married. It depends on the age. My dad was the second to get married, so it wasn't like the order of whoever was, because when my parents immigrated, they held off on having kids as long as possible until they settled into the country very well. And they didn't have kids, but my uncle, my dad's immediate junior brother, had kids a lot sooner. So I have a cousin who is older than me, who's 27, and I'm 21. So it's pretty interesting. Some patterns that I've noticed throughout the assignment was that not only do we get married quite frequently, but we do tend to have large families. I think this is part of our culture that, we really value having a lot of family members. It allows us to get closer and to have more connections to the world and getting to know our history, because one cousin can remember whatever happens, and it just allows for like a village, and it allows for a lot of support, especially when a new baby is born. So if you could tell, no one so far in my grandparents and my great grandparents. I haven't mentioned how many siblings they had, or this family tree will keep on expanding, but from what I know is that all my parents, they never had an only child. It's very rare for people. I think there's only one person in our family that has no kids and is not married, but they're kind of like way outside of the immediate family branch. So I don't think it's not really rare. Women in our family and men equally both value the prospect of getting married and having kids and settling down, but we also respect and value having education. Everybody in my family has a degree, and we don't have a first generation of anything. Like, my dad has already attended university. My mom has her bachelor's. She has her bachelor's in early childhood education and her bachelor's in digital technologies. And my dad is just stacked with degrees. So there's no first generations. Our family is incredibly educated. Blood pressure, I've noticed blood pressure runs in our family, not so much. It runs both equally on my mom and my dad's side. In the genogram, I decided to split it up into two because if I were to do it in order of who's who, it would just be so confusing. So I decided to split it up into two, and just to show you where I'm placed in both of the genograms. On my dad's gram and my mom's side, it was my great-great-grandparents that both had high blood pressure, and my grandmother had high blood pressure. But no one in my mom's generation has high blood pressure from what I know of. Hopefully no one in my generation has high blood pressure. It's a little complicated, but I think for us, high blood pressure is genetic and also has a lot of different environmental factors like stress and diets. Of course, those are some factors for high blood pressure as well. On my dad's side, my grandfather and my father both have high blood pressure, and no one from what we know of in our generation, because I'm the oldest on my mom's side and I'm the second oldest on my dad's side. So we don't really know what's going to happen with our generation yet exactly, but that's from what I know. And it's pretty interesting, and it's pretty awe-inspiring that my family, despite how big we are, we're still so close. I contact my cousins and I contact my aunts, and I usually FaceTime them. With technology nowadays, it's easy to not lose contact unless they're super busy, which is common for us, where we all live incredibly busy lives, raising kids, working jobs, the whole shebang. Another cool thing and another fun fact is that most of the people in my family are either tall and have big feet. I joke that I have Sasquatch feet. I have a size 12 in feet, and on my dad's side, it's not uncommon for all the girls to have big feet. We know one has like a size 8 or like a petite size of feet, like size 8, 7, or 6. So it's the 10s and up. So I think that's a pretty interesting fact. For us in particular, something that I've noticed for our family is that, basically what I've noticed is that our social impacts and the impacts that we had, our biggest family impacts that our family encountered was, of course, my family immigrating. My dad's the oldest in the family, and in our family, we have a hierarchy that we learned in the families, in their family theories. And one of our theories, we talked about hierarchies and the echelons, and my dad's pretty high up there in the echelon because he's the oldest male. So when he immigrated, he was supporting his family emotionally, financially, in different various of ways. And then he also helped some of his siblings come to Canada. And I think it kind of affected about how close we are, because Nigeria and Canada are two different continents. And because technology wasn't as adept as it was now, we didn't have the ability to kind of contact them frequently over a period of time. I always remembered how much money my dad spent on paying phone cards so he could have credits to call back for Nigeria. Now we just have WhatsApp. So we've come really far. We have WhatsApp, Instagram, we can do stories, and we can say hi and see each other. We haven't had our only biggest family event that really affected our relationship was, I have to admit, my grandparents passing away. My grandfather always wanted to see me and my siblings in Canada, to see how we are. I think he really wanted to see how much we've grown from the last time he saw us. He did come to Canada long ago, like in the early 2000s, but unfortunately we didn't make it on time. And he passed away like a few months before we were actually going to go to Nigeria. But I think that resulted in us getting closer. I think my dad's side of the family realized that, okay, let's make sure that all of the cousins are all close to each other so they can have the same bond as all of my siblings. All of his siblings are, because I have to admit they're all pretty close. And um it was bittersweet, but it's nice because I get to know my family members and we're all pretty chill and civil with each other. I think the way I was raised to be independent. I have to bless my parents because they raised me to be a self sufficient, independent woman, but they also raised me to behave and to, value myself a lot. So I think the problem with that is that I became too self sufficient. I like to do things myself. I feel very in my zone and in my element alone, but I don't mind having company. I think I think this has kind of affected me in relationships because I like the company, but I also don't like the company. Like I'm kind of chill with me and everything that is going on in my life. And it's all good in games, like spending time. I'm an introvert, so if you've got the introvert vibes, I can read a book and I can be in my room alone and I think I'll be just fine. And sometimes I just need a reading buddy. Um, so those are the questions that I have that were given to my parents, and we all kind of agree. We've been through a lot of the same things together, so my parents didn't really want to talk. It's kind of when they want to keep themselves anonymous. I realized the patterns that I see between the relationships between the members of my family over two generations. It was amazing to see how close my great great grandparents were, like how intertwined the relationships were all are. My mom was raised by my great great grandmother, great great grandmother, and my great grandmother and my grandmother. So she had a lot of support. My grandfather had so much. My dad had a lot of support. My grandmother, of course, being the village hint businesswoman she was, I always say she's a powerful woman with a big smile because she seems so she's been through a lot. Like raising six kids, I must have not been easy. But we've all been pretty close. No one's really distant. I think if anything is distant, it's just that we don't talk every 3 months. But it's just because we're all so busy. That's just it. If we were that busy, it wouldn't affect anything. But I've noticed that everybody gets married. Everybody. Like nobody's left out. We never had a person who's been estranged. They've lived a long, happy lives. I'm always amazed of how stable our family is throughout the years because they all live very, very happy lives. Fun fact, my great great grandmother and my great grandmother, and I think my great 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 grandmother on my mom's side all lived above 100 years old. I know for a fact it's the first great grandmother and my great great grandmother. My great grandmother lived until 110, and then my great great grandmother lived above 120 years old. So we have a few centenarians, which means that that person has lived over 100 years. So yeah, this was honestly an interesting assignment. I enjoyed it a lot. I loved it. I was really excited to do the assignment because honestly, doing the assignment would honestly provide so much insight into family connections and how I wanted to see how my upbringing kind of affected, you know, how our relationships are. But it's amazing to see how close everyone is. Yeah, that's it. Thank y'all. Bye.